Dreamweavers, hey, today we're going to talk about a dirty word, four-letter word. We're going to talk about fear. Fear in today's society has a negative connotation, like it's a bad thing and it's something that we should be ashamed of. But it is not. And I want to explain why. Fear is something that has been with us since the dawn of mankind. It is a gift that was given as a defense mechanism, a protection from the unknown, to keep us safe and away from harm. Now, I've been seeing this, so it's a recurring theme. It's shown up in a lot of feeds lately, and this weekend I heard a message on the subject that really hit home about fear and its impact on our lives in today's society. I've seen a lot of people talking about dreams and goals and aspirations, and one of the common reluctancies that people have against it, against achieving their idea, is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure. It can rear its head in a lot of different ways, and that may be in a form of anxiety. Some people respond with anger. Some people would respond with a more of a flight mechanism. Whatever the case may be, that's your natural disposition. Okay, but if you experience fear, that's fine, and that's what I want you to take with you this weekend, is to first and foremost acknowledge that fear. Don't try and deny it. Don't try and pretend it doesn't exist. Don't try and wish that it was no longer in existence, because it in fact has a purpose. It serves a purpose. What we need to do, though, is define what is fear's purpose in our lives. What authority does it have in our interaction with the world? Fear, a lot of times, can seem imposing or overpowering. And if we give in to that fear, and when I say give in, I mean be overwhelmed or overcome by fear, okay? Acknowledging fear is a good thing. It's a necessity. We have to acknowledge that fear and consider, what is it about? What is that fear trying to tell us? It, in fact, could prevent harm. It could keep us safe. It could keep us from making a bad decision. So we should not ignore fear. That pot looks hot. Think I'll not touch it. Okay? There are times, however, when fear can work against us. And so that's really what it boils down to, is a balance of fear in our lives and how we interact with that fear. We need to acknowledge it, give that fear credence, but not give it authority over our ultimate and final decision making, which comes from our heart and our mind. Now, fear tends to build walls. In fact, that's what I'm writing one of our latest blog posts on. It's going to be called The Wall That Fear Built. A lot of times what we will do in the face of fear, a recurring fear, is construct walls around ourselves. These can be literal or figurative walls. But as a defense mechanism, we will construct these walls to prevent whatever that source of fear is from having access to us. And this is related to that message that I heard this weekend. Here's what happens when we build these walls, protecting ourselves from whatever that big scary thing might be. Okay, a side effect is there's now this barrier that prevents access by that thing. But on the flip side, that also prevents ourselves from accessing whatever is on the other side of that wall. And this is the this is the funny part, is what that does is actually perpetuate our fears. Because once we've constructed these barriers that are, ideally blocking whatever the bad thing is, what it is also doing is preventing or creating an area of unknown and preventing a full experience of the world around us. For instance, let's say that you have a fear of chickens. I don't know why I said chickens, but I'm just going to say chickens. That's probably some form of phobia or ism or something like that. So you have fear of chickenovia. You build yourself a big brick wall around your place, okay? No chickens can get in. There will be no chickens entering this yard. Chickens. We're going to go with something else. Confrontation. We're going to go with the fear of confrontation. I think that's a little bit more tangible to many of the audience. and it's going to be a lot more relevant, so I can work with that. Fear of confrontation. If you build walls around confrontation, where confrontation is at all costs avoided in your life, okay? So any situation that could potentially lead to confrontation will be avoided. It is the worst possible thing that could ever happen. We must not have confrontation in our lives. By building these walls around potentially conflicting scenarios, we are also preventing all the other possible outcomes. There may be an individual with a differing opinion than you, and you avoid communicating or conversating with that person for fear of them going straight to that difference of opinion in an aggressive manner that could lead to conflict. By avoiding that conversation, you may be avoiding a friendship. You may be avoiding a developing life partner, a close relation that has in fact more in common than you ever would have known. By building that wall, you have prevented them coming in. You've also prevented yourself from getting out and experiencing all the potentialities in the world. So I want you to consider that when you're building these walls to protect yourself from these fears and to prevent fear from getting in, consider the flip side. Consider what you are also preventing yourself from experiencing. Now, that's why I go back to the idea that fear is an acceptable part of our lives, not something to be ashamed of. But it also has its place, and it needs to stay within its boundaries, within the authorities that it has over our day-to-day activities. So acknowledge your fears. Consider what they have to say, but don't give them more authority than they are due. You have the ultimate decision. You need to consider, by listening to these fears, what harm is being prevented, or is it really just a theoretical or potential harm? And if I were to, in fact, give in or listen to these fears, then what would I potentially be missing out on? What sort of life experiences, what sort of achievements would I not be able to accomplish because I didn't try, or because I didn't open myself up to the potential outcomes, good or bad, as they may be? Just for trying, there would be so much more joy and sense of accomplishment from giving it that effort and exposing yourself. What you may find is that, one, those fears can be overcome. Two, you will experience a growth, a sense of personal growth over your fears, and with that comes confidence, and then you will be able to start achieving more and more and more. That is a great thing. Finally, fear is also something that we all experience, and you can now use a sense of authority that you can develop over your fears as an example or as a guide to others, to loved ones, to close relations around you, how they can face and acknowledge their fears and work with their fears. Not prevent them, not deny them, and not fully succumb or give in to them. So you can also learn to be a help to those around you, which is just another benefit of taking some control and some authority over your dreams, goals, and aspirations, and the fears that come along with those. So best of luck this week. Take charge, take authority over your fears, acknowledge them. It is not a derogatory term, so don't let anyone tell you different, and use that to approach this week with a sense of enthusiasm and confidence about all that you can accomplish.